Well, good morning, everyone. Today's Sunday, July 16th, and we're starting off with a very nice day here in southern Connecticut. It's actually a return to nice weather. This week here in southern Connecticut has been pretty dismal. It's either has been very high humidity and cloudy, or rainy and cloudy. And the weather finally broke yesterday late morning. So the timing is perfect for Susan and I, because Susan went back to work after a week of vacation, and today is her first day off. So we're able to get out here and enjoy the morning of the day, get out and do a ride. The last ride Susan and I took was, I can't remember the day. I think it was last Friday, or a week ago Friday. And we decided to do a loop around Essex, Connecticut, and Old Saybrook and Old Lyme, which proved to be a pretty nice ride. Except once we crossed over the Connecticut River into Lyme and headed to Old Lyme, we got a little more hill climbing than either one of us would have preferred. That we managed to deal with, but the real issue was that we got on Route 156 in Lyme and Old Lyme, and that turned out to be a really crappy road to ride. It's a two-lane road like this road is, but the speed limit is like 45, which, as you can guess, generally meant people were doing like 60 miles an hour whizzing by you, you know? Plus the fact that you get all that road noise, traffic noise. Wasn't all that enjoyable. So today we're back on our local roads, around our local roads, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy this day's ride a lot more. I think this morning I'm going to talk a little bit about gearing on a bike, and a recent YouTube video that I saw on GCN about how some of the riders in Tour de France are going with much larger cogs in the back, and what's the theory behind it? That sort of dovetails into something that I've kind of stumbled across on my own, which is essentially almost exclusively staying in my lower chainring, staying at a higher RPM when I ride, for the purpose of kind of giving me a little more endurance. In other words, I'm spreading out the amount of work that I do pedaling over more pedal strokes, and therefore staying much more aerobic rather than breaching and getting into anaerobic exercise. So let's go straight. Yeah, I don't want to cut through town with all this traffic here. So if I wind this topic way back, the reason I'm talking about it is primarily the major reason that I got into road biking, which is to get myself a little more exercise and in the process become a little more fit than I had been. And of course the real benefit was relearning just how much I enjoy road biking and the sport in general. But I primarily got back into road biking for the exercise. And don't forget, a bike is many things. not the least of which is a piece of exercise equipment. I'll go first. So, when you first get back into road biking, or when you initially get into biking, seems like within a very short period of time, the questions start to raise up. Well, how fast can I get to, and how long will it take me to get to a certain speed, and what's a good average speed, and that kind of thing. And speed and distance that you can ride is all a function of just how good a shape you're in, how strong you are, what sort of ability do you have to sustain either a anaerobic or anaerobic exercise. And what I've learned myself is that by kicking up my cadence and using the smaller chain ring, I'm working more on the aerobic side of exercising rather than the anaerobic. And I also, going back to the GCN video, found that the main reason I believe that athletes are starting to lean toward larger gears in the back, one of which was, they said, was so they can stay in the larger chain ring for a longer period of time, which kind of confused me. I'll talk about that in a second. But primarily, that apparently your body can recover more quickly from an aerobic exercise than an anaerobic exercise. So what does that mean? Well, aerobic has to deal with your heart and lungs and bringing oxygen into your system to help provide the necessary power to your muscles. And anaerobic is when you get to that point that you are consuming more oxygen energy than you can produce, which leads to your legs becoming very, well, it becomes noticeable that it becomes very painful because you just start to develop more lactate acid in your system and in your muscles, and that's what leads to the pain of pushing real hard. But if you work on the aerobic side of exercising and increasing your capacity to take air in and move it through your system through heart rate, then your muscles benefit from that, obviously, and you can keep the energy moving along. So for me, the idea of first working on the aerobic side of my exercise program in cycling means pedal at a higher RPM, stay in the lower chain ring, and develop my fitness level on that basis before I get into the anaerobic side, which deals with things like sprinting and climbing hills and things of that nature, which requires a lot more strength. So if you're a first-time biker or just getting into the sport and you think you can get on the bike and just pedal like hell and use that as a basis for getting faster, kind of think twice about that. So I might have clumsily explained what it is that I'm trying to talk about, but essentially I'm recommending to those first getting into biking, cycling, for the exercise, work on getting the RPM of your pedaling or your cadence, get that up to around 80 RPM or better as soon as you can, and try to sustain that for as long as you can on your rides. You'll find that you'll start to be able to ride along a little more comfortably, and you should be able to ride along, and as I'm doing right now, be able to speak relatively comfortably. You're not trying to catch your breath, you're not out of breath, and if you are, that's fine too, but that's all a part of getting up to a certain threshold. But right now I'm cruising along at just over 17 miles an hour. I'm on flat level ground. I'm in my lower chain ring, and I believe I'm right around 81 RPM. And I want to tell you something. If I had a road like this, I could do this all day long. So there you go. I mean, in terms of average miles per hour, I'm doing 18 miles an hour right now, and literally not breaking a sweat. That's an indication of my current fitness level. Now I can make that same exact ride and that speed in the big chain ring, but I would be working much harder. My heart rate would be a lot more elevated. I'd be sweating, and I'm pretty damn sure if I were doing that for any length of time, by the end of the day, I'd be pretty tired.